and welcome to the Indiana State Police Roadshow. I'm your host, Captain Dave Burston, Chief Public Information Officer for the Indiana State Police. We're very pleased to be brought to you by the Indiana State Police Alliance and Cops for Kids, whose funding make this show possible on the radio and also on our YouTube channel that is very well maintained by the man behind the scenes, Tom Trial, who films this each and every week and puts our program together. If you listened to our show last week, we were talking about holiday fire safety and shopping safety, and I asked Mike Pruitt to come back and join us again. John, I just ordered him to come here. He didn't have a choice. So
he never left. He's been hanging out here in the studio ever since.
It's warm here. They have bathrooms and food. And
have a cot. You can go out on the circle and you can get shop anywhere you want.
His wife's called me 5 times wanting to know his location. But I'm a true friend. I didn't give him up.
Yeah, well, secret's out now. So, but this week we want to talk a little bit about winter driving. And it's something that, John, we've talked about before in the past, and we thought it would be a good idea to include the fire perspective too, because who responds to a lot of these crashes? Paramedics, fire department. Yeah, not Mike.
Somebody has to tell the story.
So somebody's got to tell the story. So, John, let's start with you. Because last week we started with Mike, so I believe in equal treatment.
All right.
So, give us some general tips.
You know, it's that time of year that not just police officers, but all public safety just start to cringe. You start hearing that word snow and ice. Just a minimal amount of snow or ice can cause havoc for us. And it's not because we don't want to go out and do the work. It's because we know that one car that spins out and hits the wall puts dozens of people at a significant risk. And we're sitting there with our red and blue lights on a slick road for something that so easily could have been prevented had that person just slowed down.
What kind of challenges does it bring to you, Mike, when you have your personnel that are responding to that major crash? What hazards does it present to the firefighters?
Well, anytime we're operating on slick roadways, responding to a crash, we all keep our ears in tune for that sound. And we all know what that sound is. We've been working on the interstate or a side road. It's that sliding sound.
It's almost silence. It's weird. It's almost silence.
You know something bad is about to happen, and somebody's lost control of their vehicle because they were either rubbernecking, trying to see what was going on with an accident, or they approached the scene too quickly. Maybe it wasn't slick where they were, but now we're at an overpass, and now they lose control of their vehicle, and then that causes that chain reaction event that can not only injure them, but also injure our first responders. And we see that happen across the country every year where people just aren't slowing down, whether it's for us or our tow truck drivers or even the road crews out, from NDOT or our local DPWs. So it creates an extremely dangerous situation for all of us because people don't pay attention.
A lot of things to be concerned about. John, you got some things to add to that?
You know, I'm not a real argumentative guy, but one thing I will argue every single time is when somebody tells me that snow or ice caused their crash. And that's not true. Every single crash that happens on snow or ice is 100% preventable. The road doesn't cause the crash.
No, I agree. That's a personal pet peeve of mine as well. There may be a contributing factor, but the primary factor is people over-driving the conditions, not maintaining that safe distance between each other. The bit of weather we had this past week, I looked in front of me. Now, granted, I'm driving a marked state police car, but I look behind me, and the closest car is maybe 2 car lengths behind. I know if I wasn't in a marked police car, they'd be 1 car length behind. And then I look out ahead of me, and I'm not exaggerating. I have, coming in on US 136, I had 15 car lengths between me and the car in front, because if something bad happens in front of me, I want plenty of time to react. So if you're not going to listen to when we just talk about it generally, I would hope that you would listen to our personal experiences. And I mean, in this room, Mike, you've been with the fire service for how many years now?
35.
35 years.
John, 16 years.
16 years, and I've got 40 years. So we're pushing 100 years worth of experience in public safety. We have seen maybe not everything, but doggone near
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah. And you talk about that following distance, and that is, I can't reiterate enough how key that is. And people think that when I say you need to increase your following distance, it's simply to keep you from hitting the car in front of you. And there's so much more to it than that. That following distance does so much for reaction time. Because what happens if that car in front of you reacts to a hazard at the very last second and you're too close? You don't have time to react.
And beyond the reaction, evasive.
Yeah.
Do you have a way out to the left, a way out to the right? And maybe the way out is driving into a ditch, but you can get towed out of a ditch as to compare to getting your car separated from the one in front of you.
But that following distance also increases your visibility by so much. What you're able to see ahead of you, and maybe it's that yellow or red or blue flashing light, or maybe it's that car spinning out of control, or that tire tread flying off of a semi. You're going to see those things the more you increase your following distance.
One of the things I tell people is if you are involved in an accident, don't get out of your car. We see so many people get out of their vehicle after they've been involved in an accident, and that secondary accident happens, and they become a victim of that because they got out of their vehicle and now they're injured.
Yeah, they have no
or
protection.
something takes their life because of that fact. So just stay in your vehicle. If you need to call 911 to report the call, then you need to do that, but don't get out of your vehicle.
What I'm interested in your philosophy. If you're involved in that crash, and John, I'd like you to weigh in on it too, and your vehicle's disabled, you're in the middle of the road. One thing I've always thought about, I'm a little queasy about staying in the car. If I'm on the interstate and there's a guardrail, get out and get on the other side of the guardrail.
But the key to that, Captain, is paying attention before you get out. You've got to look around.
Exactly so.
See, so many people just assume that people see their mangled car on the road, or they assume people are going to slow down, and they won't.
Yeah.
So you've got to look around before you get out of that car.
And the reason people don't see is most people are only looking 18 to 25 feet in front of them. People don't take the long range view of looking far ahead in the road. Something else I see a lot is people don't take time to be looking in their rear view mirror as well to see the danger coming up behind them. You should be checking that rear view mirror every 5, 7, 8 seconds all the time when you're driving. Driving is something that requires 100% of your attention 100% of the time.
Now, you really want to see something is people still amazes me. You'll see people videotaping themselves driving on the slick roads or snow-covered roads, shooting pictures with their phones.
Yeah.
So it's not only a dry weather issue that people are using these phones
people
when they
just
shouldn't be,
they don't
but they're using them.
understand.
But then we have the evidence in hand.
We
after
do.
the crash.
So it's incredible to see how people carelessly drive on dry roads and on slick roads. So selfish. They drive so selfishly. They're in a hurry, so they'll push that car out of their way that's in front of them, or they'll tailgate that car. Or they'll drive too fast and cause another crash. It's selfish drivers that are only thinking about themselves are a lot of the reason why we have these crashes.
The best advice is stay home.
If you can.
If you can, stay home when there's bad weather, especially we put out snow emergencies or,
If you legitimately have to go out, something else, one of my pet peeves, and I know it's one of yours, John, is every car comes equipped with an early warning crash avoidance system, and that is turn signals. And people just don't want to take I know it takes so much effort to lift your left hand and to either push it down.
Well, you've got to put your phone down first, and that's just kind of hard
exactly.
And
to
your
free up
coffee.
that hand.
Yeah.
You
Phone,
got
coffee.
Yeah.
But I'm a religious user of my turn signals. I will never know how many crashes it's kept me out of. And other people, I've seen people signal their lane changes just as I was starting to come up by. I'm in their blind spot. Do the courteous thing. I back off, let them make their lane change. We've all got to share the road together.
What about the ones that it's snowing, they wake up, they leave at their normal time, and they say, I've got four-wheel drive, no problem for me.
Oh,
Those are
God.
my favorites.
Oh,
Pulling up with the big four-wheel drive in the ditch. What happened, buddy?
yeah. You may be able to drive through it, but you can't stop in it any quicker than a two-wheel drive.
And you can't
car.
control other vehicles that might spin
No.
out in front of you.
No, exactly so. We have all, anybody that's listening to us talking now or watching us on YouTube, we have all seen that person that zipped by, and about 6 minutes later, you're going by them. And I've stopped to see if they're okay and just call and get them help. And I said, I remember when you passed me. Didn't turn out so well, did it?
You know, the other thing I see, Captain, out there, and I know you guys have seen too, is semis. They'll get impatient because time is money for them.
Yeah.
We understand. And of course, they've got a 70, 80,000 pound vehicle that's probably not too affected by light snow, but they'll get right behind that car that is choosing to drive slow, and they'll get so close to them that person will try to change lanes and then crash because that semi was so close.
No, another excellent point.
If the vehicle that you're around has more lug nuts than you do on your car, that's always the rule of lug nuts. You probably need to stay a long ways away from it, or you're going to get yourself in bad trouble.
Yeah.
No, I agree completely. If you're just joining us, just tuning in either on the radio dial or have been watching us on YouTube, remind you that you are listening to the Indiana State Police Roadshow. I'm your host, Captain Dave Burston, Chief Public Information Officer for the Indiana State Police. We also have with us as guest today Captain Mike Pruitt from the Wayne Township Fire Department and Sergeant John Perrine, who is the Indianapolis Post Public Information Officer. And we are talking about winter driving safety and the do's and don'ts. I think we've done a pretty good job of hitting some of the topics, but have we missed anything?
One of my pet peeves is clean your windows off.
Oh,
if there's something
excellent
that
point.
drives
You don't
me
like
nuts-
driving through a porthole?
No, it's I see so many people driving down the road and they've got that little spot scraped off that they, depending on what generation you grew up in, you're either scraping your window with an 8-track or a cassette
Or a credit card.
a CD or a credit card.
yeah.
So today's world, I don't know, you have to get the iPhone, I guess, to use to scrape your windows.
Well, there's got to be an app for that.
That's true. So, making sure you
Infrared heat
clean
across,
all the snow off your cars, especially because if sometimes it refreezes and you're driving down the road and a big chunk of that comes off the top of your vehicle. We had one come right through the windshield of one of our fire engines a couple years ago.
Oh, really?
Fortunately, no one was seriously hurt. Yeah, it was a really bad deal. So clean that vehicle off.
And it's not just your windshield. It's those side windows. It's all the
Your
little
tail
windows.
lights,
It's
tail
lights,
lights,
tail lights.
everything.
It's everything. Yeah, that's a pet peeve of mine as well.
That touches on another thing that it's always hard to advise because it's important to let your car warm up, but then we always hear about the stories of the person leaving their car to warm up. And even if you lock it, some scuzzball coming along, that's the only thing I can say on the radio, some scuzzball coming along and busting out and stealing your vehicle. A lot of cars will have the remote start. They will allow the gear shift to be disabled until you get back into it. But
never warm your car up inside the garage. Is that right,
That's
Mike?
true.
Well.
Carbon monoxide issues. You won't make it to work if you let that run in there very long.
So, no, that is a big concern. What have we left out? I feel like we've left something out.
It's just all comes down to speed. People get in a hurry.
Common sense.
They don't plan ahead. They leave at the same time and expect to make it to work at the same time. There's so many variables every day.
I got one thing. What kind of supplies, quickly, what kind of things people need to throw in the car?
Excellent point.
Yeah,
Excellent.
of course, years, ever since we all started driving, your parents and grandparents tell you, blankets and flashlights and jumper cables and,
Fuel.
Non-perishable food.
I mean,
Fuel.
because even though people have cell phones now and they can probably get help a lot quicker than they could years ago, you still might be stranded for a while.
All good points. All good points. I think we've covered a lot. We've got just about a minute and a half left to go. Can you give a short recap of your points that you covered?
Just want people to, give themselves plenty of time when the road conditions become poor, or don't drive at all if you don't absolutely have to. When you're approaching emergency scenes and you see the lights, whether they're yellow lights from tow truck drivers or DOT trucks, or the red and the blues of police and fire and ambulances, you got to give them some space.
Slow down, give people the room, move over that lane.
Yeah. You hear people say, well, I saw the lights, but I didn't know what they wanted me to do. If you don't know what they want you to do, slow way, way down. We don't want you to drive through at 70 miles an hour ever. So slow down is the key.
No, excellent points. Well, I truly appreciate both of you being here today. You've got a wealth of information. Mike, it's always a pleasure to have you here. John, likewise, and I love the work that the two of you do together in helping to educate the public through what you do with Twitter. You keep it light, you keep it thoughtful, and I really think there's value. People retain things from the humor of what you all do together, and I hope the two of you have many more great years working together.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Mike, thank you very much. John, thank you. Tom Trial, always making us look good. thanks to our sponsors, the Indiana State Police Alliance, as well as Cops for Kids, and everything that we do here at the Emma Studio. Wish everybody a happy holiday season. Roadshow is out.